Good morning again. This is Rabbi Shlomo, first here, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, Yerushalyim, HaKodesh. This is our second share, Mishna. We're learning Hilchos Tisha B'Av in Torah Chaim, Siman Tav Kuf Nun Aleph Sif Yud. Okay, the Rosh Chodesh Menachem Av is beginning this evening. So let me just give just a quick Kedama. There are a lot of things beginning now for especially the Ashkenazim with Rosh Chodesh, especially eating meat, drinking wine, except if it's on Shabbos or perhaps for the sake of a mitzvah, doing clothes, washing, these type of things. According to some, they're preparing your clipping your fingernails and such like this. So preparation should be made before tonight, before Rosh Chodesh starts, if it's at all possible. Okay, we are in again, as I said, Tav Kuf Nun Aleph Sif.
They eat meat and drink a lot during 9 days, right?
Yes, they do, except Shuv Shulchan, but there's a question whether that exists this year, because Shabbos is Tisha B'Av, and then it's later to Yom Rishon, so
yes.
Question.
Sephardim, we have some, today, as soon as I leave here, I'm getting a haircut.
Yeah.
Because we do the 3 weeks, but in the 3 weeks, it's like no music, no hatuna, like this.
Right.
But in the 9 days, that's when the strictness comes, like no laundry, things like this.
Very similar to the Ashkenazim.
Yeah, in that way.
Yeah, each group according to their customs of their forefathers, of course.
What group are you in?
Halabi. But basically all Sephardim hold this strictness of 9 days, with some variations. Anyway.
Natasha, would you like to do a good reading first?
What's Yeshmi?
Exactly, Yeshmi.
Okay. Yeshmi she'omer shehano hagim shelo le'echol basar b'yamim anitz karim mutarim b'sar shil shenes bashel bo basar.
So what does that mean? There are those that say that according to those that they do not eat meat during those days that were mentioned, meaning according to the three basic shittas, the most makmir was from Yud Zayin Tammuz, and then there was from Rosh Chodesh, and then there was from Shua Shel Cholvot. So even according to those that are strict not to eat meat, nevertheless there are those, some opinions say that you can eat a tamshul which was cooked with basar. For example,
What's a tamshul?
okay, a tamshul is like this. Let's say you have yourself a beef stew or a roast beef, and you roasted the beef along with some potatoes. So the potatoes are really not meat, right? But the potatoes soaking in the juices and being roasted along with the roast beef with the meat, or being stewed in the pot with the meat, they take on the flavor of the meat.
What's the word again? Tashul?
Tavshil.
Tavshil.
Tavshil is literally like a dish, right? A dish of something which in essence is not meat. It could be carrots, onions, potatoes, right?
But it has the
flavoring of the meat
because it was cooked
together with, right? So there are those that say that is permissible. Okay.
We need permissible during the 9 days.
During 9 days you could eat it, right?
Okay.
So let's say you had a chicken soup and you had potatoes. So according to this opinion, in theory, you could eat the potatoes.
Could I have a bagel with cream cheese and those potatoes?
Absolutely not. No, because why? Because in terms of the halachas of basar v'chalot, the potato actually has a halachic status of being meat.
Okay.
Now, in terms of this, again, because here we're saying it's forbidden to eat meat.
Right.
But it's a question, does that mean you cannot taste meat? Meaning that you're tasting the meat through the means of the potato, right? But it's really not meat, right? So therefore you have some leniencies according to these opinions. We'll see what the halach is. The Mishna was going to discuss the halach l'maisa.
Okay. V'asurim bivsar of uvasar maluach v'yayin toses.
So you have these other things which are also chicken, fowl, turkey, these types of meats which are really not meat d'oraisa, right? They are forbidden during the 9 days or the Rosh HaKodesh, whatever, Shush or Chavo as well. Also, basa maluach, very, very salted. They used to preserve the meat that was salted, heavily salted. So we'll see what would you think? Why not? It's really meat. So why, since it's salted, would you think it wouldn't be meat that you have to tell me that it's usher? And then yayin toises is really, in the time of the Gemara, they didn't have anything like grape juice, because within 2-3 days, the wine would begin to ferment, became tangy and begin to ferment. So therefore, there was no such thing as grape juice unless you squeezed the grapes freshly and drank the grape juice straight away. Any time afterwards would be called yayin toises. Toises is like it's foaming. The wine which is foaming is because it's beginning to ferment. So that's also going to be forbidden, even though it doesn't have the alcohol content of wine. But nevertheless, it's a derivative of wine, and then we're going to have that forbidden as well.
Because it's in the derech of being wine.
Right.
Here we have two. Okay.
We are on page Chavav Amid Beis, Tav Kuf Nun Aleph, Sif Yud.
So what was yayin tosis again?
It's fresh grape juice, which is unpasteurized, and it's beginning to become tangy. It'll happen. Almost any juice, right? If you leave it out, especially if it's left out in the warm, almost sometimes within hours it will start to become tangy. HaKodesh Baruch Hu makes the world. There's a lot of bacteria and yeasts in the atmosphere, so these things just get to work with it. There's the sugars and all that stuff that's in the fruit juice, and just they'll do their natural thing and multiply. And that creates the gases, and eventually turns into alcohol. That's how you make all these alcoholic beverages, beers, all kinds of things like that. Okay, a couple more lines then before we see the Ramah, we'll go into the Mishna Berura here.
Umutar lishtos, yain havdalah, uvirkas hamazon.
So if it comes to making havdalah and you want to drink wine, it's permissible, and also for birkas hamazon, especially those who are accustomed to say birkas hamazon with a kais. Not everyone's accustomed to do that, but there are. I happen to do it on Shabbos, not necessarily during the week, but on Shabbos if I have a mezuman, usually a bench on a kais. So those people do it. It's permissible to do it during the
Bench on a kais? What does that mean?
Meaning when you make birkas hamazon,
Cup of wine?
yeah, a cup of wine.
Okay.
Kais is a cup, and it's usually just mentioned a la kais, meaning with the cup.
Okay.
Let's see the Mishna Berura. That'll be beginning in Siv Katan Samich Gimel. That you'll find at the inside column, 3 lines down from the top of the inside column. Samich Gimel. Mutarin B'Tavshil.
Okay. Mutarin B'Tavshil. Aval Shuman. Shel Basar Dino. Kavasar Atzmo. Va'asur Le'echol. Tavshil, sheyesh bo shuman.
So you have the meat fat, right? You got the meat fat. So the meat fat has the halachic status of the meat itself. So therefore, that's going to be forbidden. And also, if you have any dish, any recipe which has included in it the fat of the meat, that'll also be considered like the meat itself, and that'll be us.
I was looking right at you and missed everything you said. You said the fat, eating a piece of fat's going to be just like eating a piece of the meat? Is that what you said?
Right.
Okay.
And also, like let's say you had the meat fat mixed into the recipe. Let's say you made yourself some type of a souffle with the meat. You took the meat fat and
Drained it off and used it.
put it into the it's great. It has
Sure.
a lot of flavor to it. Makes it moist. It's great stuff. So that has a halakhic status of the meat itself, not make it forbidden. Even though it might be completely, maybe it's a potato kubu, maybe it's a noodle kubu,
Right.
but it's completely considered to be full 100%
Okay.
meat.
So what if you have children
Right,
and you've got potatoes in it,
right,
but you've also got a lot of fat in it.
right.
So if you pick the potatoes out, you're still going to probably find that there's a little bit of fat
Right,
on
right,
the potatoes.
right,
So
right, right.
we would say you can't eat those
Those,
potatoes.
right. So, yeah. Now the Mishna was going to say, this is all theoretical. In our times, everything's out. We'll say right now, V'idna. V'idna means in our times.
All right, but okay.
What's the question?
If we've got to be talking about, if we're in the 9 days and we're talking about eating something from meat, it's got to be coming from Shabbos. So if it's coming from Shabbos and it turns into Monday or Tuesday, now we're asking, can we eat the potatoes out of the chunk that we had for Shabbos? Is that what we're talking about?
That's one possible scenario.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And or you could say, let's say a person has children or someone who's elderly, and it's permissible for them to eat meat. So you want to roast. Let's say you want a very perfect case. You have some hot dogs. And you want to put some hot dogs in a skillet, and you want to put some fries on the side with it, right? And fry some onions there, right? So you have the meat, and there's some oils coming off of the meat, some fats coming off of the hot dogs, right? But not necessarily so much. But it's being cooked there in the same skillet, right? So in terms of real halakha, it has this halakhic status of being meat, right? So, but nevertheless, in terms of the 9 days, right, or shulchan boy, it has a halakhic status of a tabshil shulbasa, which according to the Macaber is permissible. In theory, is permissible, because it wasn't absorbing really the meat fat. Even if there's some of in the hot dog, for example, even if some of the fats are coming off of the hot dog, it's really not so much. It's not like you're really like a potato in a chicken soup, or a potato in a cholent, or potatoes lying in that fat of the roast beef, boiling away in the fat of the roast beef. That's what we were talking about here. The shuman, the actual fat of the meat, is actually being absorbed in the potato. That would be more serious. That would be like the meat itself.
Okay, so taking a step from what you said about children, which obviously, it's logical. So someone who is very ill, like let's say someone's wife, who is, let's say, having an extremely bad situation with anemia, and the doctors won't even let the person fast. And they say that this person needs to eat meat every day to keep up their exam.
Sure, 100%. Yeah. Again, you should. Again, you always have to ask the question of a rabbi when these things are actually relevant. Yeah. It's that especially during the 9 days, all these halakhas are within the rabbanim. They're not the rices.
Right.
So in general, if it comes to questions of health or danger or anything like that, usually the halakhas are waived in the light of the necessity of health.
Like, if you can, you should, but if you can't, or it'll adversely affect you,
then you're not supposed to.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. It's a sort of fact.
Yeah. That's right. Exactly. It's also fasting. The whole thing.
Right.
Okay. So now the fifth line down from the top there. Ve'idna, in our times.
Va'idna nahiga nahigi. Alma le'asor af tavshil shel basor. The davka b'savshil shel basor.
Okay, so in our times, the custom, the general custom, the general custom is to forbid even a tavshil of basar. So even if you had, and it could even be isa, depending on the type of oven you have. Let's say you have some potatoes roasting in a separate pan in an oven with the roast beef, right? Because of the fumes from the meat fumes in the circulating oven, they could in theory take on a halakhic status of meat, right? Even in that case, it could be forbidden.
What about the other way?
Yeah.
What if I saute potatoes in butter and now I'm going to have a steak later in the afternoon?
Together with them?
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
it's like you're eating them together.
It was an open conversation. It was worth a shot.
Yeah, sure. Even if you have the meat, you have the meat at 12 o'clock, right? You wouldn't be able to have the onions sauteed in butter until 6 o'clock, 6 hours later.
Okay.
But the other way, you could do it.
Soak down the
You have
onions first.
The onions, the butter first.
Yes.
And have a little drink of
And
something.
just have a drink of something and then.
Correct.
Right, correct. Okay. So that eliminates all the lamaisa. In actuality, there will be no meat dishes to be eaten during the 9 days or the Jewish holidays. Aval, now there's an exception.
Aval im rak nisbashel bigdera shel basar pasita demutar.
So in this case, let's say you took your onions and you sauteed them in a meat frying pan. Okay. Let's, for example, I'll give you we'll have at least two examples. Let's say yesterday at 12 o'clock you fried your hot dogs, you made some hamburgers, right? And now at 1 o'clock the next day, 25 hours later, you want to saute some onions, fry some potatoes, right? So that pot is called what we call in Hebrew Eina Ben Yomo. It's not a pot which has been used within the first 24 hours.
24
right?
hours.
Right. So if it's past the 24 hours, right, then what happens is the meat flavors which are in the pot, which were there 25 hours ago, have been what we call poigim. They become, the taste has been lost. The taste has been corrupted. The full taste of the meat doesn't exist anymore, right? So in theory, you're able to make potatoes or saute some onions in that meat pot, right? And conceivably, under certain situations, you could have that not necessarily at the same time with milk, but maybe you could have it right after the milk, or the milk right after that, right? If it's within the 24 hours, then the meat flavor is still in its full pungency, in its full power, and it imparts to the onions the flavor of the meat. So then it would be forbidden to have those things directly at the same time with milk products. So
that's called Eino
Ben Yomo. The first pot is Eino Ben. After 24 hours, Ein, not Ben Yomo. Ben, it's really Ben Yomo, the Ben like the sun of the day. The sun, it's not a Ben Yomo. It's not a day within that day's pot. It's a day afterwards pot.
Thank you.
Within 24 hours, it's called a Ben Yomo. It's called that day's pot. Right? So, the Mishnah is saying as follows. Even a Ben Yomo, even a pot which has what we call bli, is the meat absorbed into the pot, the flavors there. You will cook, let's say, potatoes and saute onions in that pot. It is permissible during the 9 days. It would not necessarily be permissible with milk, but it's permissible during the 9 days of Rosh Chodesh. That's what would be important. Because really, even though you will perhaps be tasting the meat, but you're not actually eating it. Because it's only the flavors of the meat which are absorbed into the pot, which are now going to be coming out into the potatoes and onions. You'll be tasting it, perhaps, that flavor, but that's not the thing which we said is forbidden. Okay? And now it says here, the veneer, the last few lines in that Mishnah.
Venire kol shenafal basar l'tavshil v'yesh shishim pashita deshari.
So let's say you were in the middle of frying up some potatoes and onions, right? Maybe you have a big skillet there making frying onions, and then you say, wow, it would be really good to chop some hot dogs into this, right? So you gotta get your hot dogs and chop them up in little pieces, and you throw a couple in there. So, ooh, it's 9 days, I can't eat this stuff, right? So, first of all, if it's nicker, if you can see the pieces that you put in, you must take them out. That's number one. And once you've taken them out, if there was more than, say, 60 portions of the potatoes and onions corresponding to the 1 or 2 pieces of the meat that you threw in there, then that can still be considered mutter because they're permissible, because that's considered what we say batal b'shishim. It's nullified within a mixture of 60 portions. Basar baro, usually we say even by the rices, we say basar baro. Batal baro, right? Shishim is with the rabbanim. But Mr. Bruce Paskin, you need shishim.
You need what?
You need 60 portions.
60.
Yeah. Like let's say you're making you want to make a vegetable soup, and you say, wow, a couple of chicken wings would really make it taste real good. And you throw chicken wing in there. If you had 60 potatoes, right, in that big pot of soup, and you had one chicken wing, so you have 60 potatoes, which will overpower the flavor of the chicken. Of course, you have to take the chicken wing out. Right?
But you can't do it on purpose.
No.
Excellent question.
That's what we call ein mevatlin isur l'katila. We don't ideally initially set out to nullify a flavor which is forbidden. Yeah, it will help. Ideally, initially we don't do that. Okay, let's see the Mishnah in Sefkat and Samek Daled. Asur b'basar oif. Right now, you might think that chicken is not exactly the same thing as meat, which is true. We're going to see when it comes to basar b'challah, milk and meat. Chicken is not deraisa. If you have beef meat from beef, lamb, and milk, right, that's real deraisa. If you have chicken meat with milk, that's only midrabanan.
Does this go back to the fact that originally birds were not considered basar, right?
Really not really, but in this case they are within the 9 days, and then in Yerushalyim they are considered to be basar. We'll see. Let's see and this will be the question about the people who are not able to keep such a diet because of their health reasons or what. Samek Daled in the Mishna.
Va'asurim bibsar of umikal makom mi she'i efshar lo le'echol ma'achlei chalav umenekes thank you, sorry. Mutar lo le'echol basar of o basar maluach shalosha yamin.
Okay, so now we see here, even though the chicken or fowl is forbidden during the 9 days of the year, nevertheless, mikol makom misha'i evshaloi, when it's impossible to ochel ma'achei chalav, for some reason, whatever, it's impossible for them to eat milk products, fish products, vegetable products. He must have meat of some type, right? Mutar lo l'ochel basar oif. He can eat basar oif, or basar meluach shlosha shamim, or meat that's been salted 3 days, right? But if you notice, the Mishnah did not say, the Chafetz Chaim did not say actual meat, right? So, if a person who's in some dietary restriction, when it's not permissible to eat these things, he'd have to get some type of a heter from, first of all, to speak with his doctor, and the doctor will say, well, if you have to eat meat, then you have to eat meat. But if you just can't eat, right, milk, right, then it's permissible to have basar oif, but not permissible to eat meat. Then again, speaking with the first person is to speak speak with a rabbi. If there's such a question, you have to speak with a rabbi. He'll tell you to consult with your doctor and ask that you tell him, or he'll contact the doctor to arrive at what the proper way of fulfilling these laws will be.
What is basar oaf? Meat of bird?
Yeah, meat of birds. Right. Meat of fowl. And basar maluach, the meat which has been salted 3 days, what happens there is the tendency of the salt is to extract all the moisture out of the meat, right? To some extent, there it loses its halakhic status of being meat because all the juices have been removed from the meat.
What about force meat? Like hot dogs and sausages. Those aren't really pieces of meat. They're made from little pieces of meat, but they're forced meat.
Right. I mean, you have this also. You have a lot of things. You have all kinds of processed meats and things like this. So if the actual particles of meat, even though they've been transformed and spiced and added other ingredients to them, it still takes on the actual.
But that 3-day spice is a wild card.
Mm-hmm. Right, because we're not familiar with this so much. The basar maluach, therefore, that's like the hardtack, the real serious type of really salted. They did that for preservation.
Okay.
Right. We don't have that too much.
It's talking about jerky.
Oh, could be very well.
Well, my grandmother used to, because she did everything herself.
Sure.
Yeah, and she would salt the meat even on a regular, just for kosher reasons.
Oh yeah, very common. Sure. Yeah. So that's kosher meat to extract the blood.
Right.
To permit the meat in general.
So this is like
a process after that.
Protection on top of
This
that.
is correct.
To bring out any of the extra. That's it.
They wanted to preserve the meat. They didn't have refrigeration in those days. So the only way you had all the types of smoked fish and smoked meat. Smoking was another form of preservation. They did it not so much. They added flavor to it, but the real process of smoking, the process of salting, was that they could preserve the meats or the fish.
Right. Now it's fancy schmancy.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I used to go camping, I used to make beef jerky.
Okay. How do you do that?
I'd slice it really thin,
Mm-hmm.
lay it out on a tray,
Right.
cover it with soy sauce
Okay.
and some garlic, just for flavor,
Sure.
and then leave it for 4 hours and turn all the pieces over. Oh, and the oven was set to like 200 degrees,
Mm-hmm.
and then turn all the pieces over and leave it for 4 more hours.
Mm-hmm.
And also put the soy sauce on the other side.
Right.
The soy sauce was the saltiness.
Right.
So would that be what we're talking about?
Yes.
Possibly.
That's exactly what we're talking about. But we're going a little further, and the Mishna Berura is saying it's a 3-day process, not an 8-hour process. So if we did what you did under this process for this much time, theoretically it's telling us we could eat that during this time.
For a person, this is a person who can't eat.
This is for an ill person.
Right. Can't eat milk.
Like somebody who's anemic or
Okay,
or
special
whatever,
circumstance.
or somebody
thank
can't
you.
eat dairy, like a lactose intolerance.
Sure. So they need protein.
So
how
if
can you
they
get that
have
protein?
to, then they can't have this.
Like, so if you have to, because it's still the 9 days, it's like, okay, one time when I was like 11, 12, it was Yom Kippur. But, I was fasting. I mean, this is, I was like, it was the only time in my life I broke the fast, and I was like, I said, I can't do this anymore, I'm dying. She said, okay, take a piece of cake. And I ate the cake, and I reached for another piece, and she's like, don't be a chazer, it's Yom Kippur. You have this will get you through. So it's kind of like this. It's like if you're in this situation, you're allowed, but let's not enjoy it so very much and feel machaya like it's a celebration, like you're in a bar mitzvah or something.
Right. Very good. Very good. It has to be within limits and control. Okay, let's see. There was Samek. Samek. Hey, what's this basar maluach? What's this salting? I mean, the Again, I'm not sure, but my impression is, I never saw, they would take, first of all, they would take the meat, which was salted anyway because of different kashrus. They take these pieces of meat and they would actually bury them in salt for 3 days. They would actually just bury them in salt for days. They would extract as much of the lechus, of the liquids of the meat as possible.
I remember the kasher salt. It was like
big pieces of meat. Samech hay, the basar meluach, the salt meat.
Uvasar maluach, afilu mizman, merubeh demikol makom isbei simcha katzas.
Right. So the Mishnah is giving us a glimpse of what the yesod, the basis of this halach is built upon. Meaning, again, the reason why we're not having meat and not drinking wine is because drinking and eating these things bring us joy. We enjoy them. Yeah? We enjoy ourselves. We enjoy eating them, and that's we have to come to a limitation during the 9 days or the Yerushalyim. Right. So this type of meat which has been salted, even if it's been salted for quite a long time, the Mishna says, nevertheless, since there is some type of a joy, right, in eating this, that's why we have to stay away from it. So it says the Mishnah expression, we're talking about the wine which is foaming. What's wine which is foaming? What's that all about?
Toses dahainu toch shalosha lid risaso shehu masok ve'eno chazak ufasul legabe mizbeach v'chein kol elu hanal.
Okay. What's this point? The point here is that when the customs of the 9 days in Yerushalyim were enacted, they never took on the halacha of these things. Because 3 days after it's been stepped upon, it's been extracted the grape juice from the grapes, shumatoik, right? It's sweet, right? Ve'ena chazak, meaning that's a reference to the alcohol content. It hasn't fermented, so there's alcohol content. And it's pasal l'gad b'mizbeach. Such wine, such grape juice, you cannot offer on the altar in the time when we had the Beis Hamikdash, right? Nevertheless, kibul avaseinu aleim la'asur kol mini basar v'yayin. That's the bottom line. The bottom line is all types of basar, all types of wines, great products. The minute when it was established to forbid all these types of things. Okay, we'll stop here. Continue on in 2 minutes.